Today, my topic is what lies beneath the surface. And it's a part of a theme that we're talking about the whole year is living out loud, living our spiritual principles. And this month's theme for February is curiosity as a superpower, which is a little different topic, particularly for February. But today I'm going to be talking about what lies beneath the surface. You know, when we want to look at what we see, what's on the surface, but what is there underneath? And what do we do? How do we discover that? And this month, well, I've been watching Charlotte, our administrator. She brings her baby Arya to work with her. And Arya she's just turned 6 months, and she is in the middle of the joy of discovery. She puts her toes in her mouth and her toys in her mouth. She's learning to turn over and maybe scoot. And it's just, each little thing is so excited. I mean, this week, her new thing was she has these little papers that are like cloth books. And when she moves them, they wiggle and make noise. And so she's just swinging it back and forth like this. And she's got this big look on her face like, this is the greatest thing ever. Can you see what I can do? I am in control of my environment, And another one this week was jumping. So her mom's holding her on her lap and Arya's jumping up and down. And I can just see the bruises forming on Charlotte's legs but this is how she learns. And it's by trial and error, and it's excitement. It's about trying something new for the first time. We all know possibilities, but it's all unknown possibilities to discover one by one. Life is so exciting, right? But none of us know that full field of possibilities that Arya will discover during her lifetime. She's going to go beyond what I ever see into new things in the world. But still, because life is infinite, because the possibilities are infinite, each one of us, at whatever age we are, still have infinite possibilities open for us to discover. Just because something's been this way up till now, or it is this way now, it may or may not be what it is tomorrow or 10 years from now. Infinite possibilities. Part of the CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living global vision, our intention, is we envision a world where each and every person discovers their own personal power. We don't have hard and fast rules that everybody has to follow in order to go to heaven. It's not about that at all. It's about we are already part of the divine. And so we discover that relationship. We discover what's going on inside of us. And that's what it's all about. So this is why curiosity is a superpower, right? So what do you do when you encounter something new, something unknown? Do you get all excited and jump in and jump up and down with excitement, or you turn over the rocks and look underneath, or perhaps you become fearful. Do you avoid anything that's unknown and potentially scary or dangerous? That's some people want to live that safe. So curiosity is the superpower that makes evolution possible. If everything is always the same as it's always been, we would all be walking everywhere rather than riding horses or driving cars or flying airplanes or going off into space. Okay? If everything were always the same, we would only have oral history with no written books, photos, TVs, computers, or these little combination computers and cameras that we all have that called cell phones. Big change. If everything was the same, we would never wonder about that interesting person on the other side of the room, or said yes when they asked us to go out on a date, or get the courage to ask them on a date in the first place. So it's, we might have to go beyond our fears to explore the unknown, right? Instead, we still might seek security and certainty so we can feel safe. We want to feel taken care of. And, so a lot of us define security as a house, a job, a spouse, savings, and in some ways, security means that things will always be reliable, right? 100% security means that not only will it be reliable, but things will stay the same and never evolve but that 100% reliable, maybe not, right? Security, as Chopra points out in the reading for today, is really an attachment to the known, right? And if we, so what is the known? It's our past, right? It's what we've already experienced. So just because something is known doesn't guarantee that it's safe or reliable, or even that it will continue to be good for us in the future. That's a little scary. So in the 7 spiritual laws of success, Deepak Chopra, that reading from this morning, he said, uncertainty is the fertile ground of pure creativity and freedom. Now, for many of us, fear keeps us from following our curiosity to explore the unknown. And the 1977 dance drama movie Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta, he played Tony Manero, a 19-year-old Italian-American man living in Brooklyn. And he escaped his day-to-day life with, he felt it was really boring and limited, and he had limited future prospects, not much to look forward to. And he became king of the dance floor at the local discotheque. His clothes had to be just right, his shoes, his dancing, and he would wow whoever was there, all the girls. That's the way he got the girls, right? And so we would have that. So he, in the dance theme, so he gets up there, and I lost my place. So one aspect of his life, though, that just really impressed me was that Tony had never left Brooklyn, never been outside that small, so many square mile areas that was Brooklyn. And he had to face his fear of the unknown when he went to Manhattan to visit his dance partner, just to Manhattan. But that was a big deal for him. And he really felt out of place and uncomfortable when he got there, but he did it. He did it. It was a big deal. But it was only when his curiosity and his desire to pursue his love interest that he dared to venture out on his own out of that world of Brooklyn. So fear of the unknown is often what holds us back. We're afraid perhaps because the world seems scary, but why is it scary? It's one thing if we want to avoid known dangers. We learn at a young age, you don't put your finger in the fire because you burn your finger and it hurts. We don't do that again, right? Or our parents teach us not to run out into the street when a car is coming. That's a real danger that you want to avoid. But what about fear of the unknown? There may or may not be real danger, right? It may be just something that's in our own minds, but it seems that the unknown world is really scary. Perhaps we are scared because we feel like we're walking alone. Maybe we feel unprepared and just too vulnerable to deal with whatever we might find around the corner. Remember that as Jesus told us in Luke 12:32, fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Right? So the divine, the infinite invisible, wants us to have everything. Why? Because God made everything. God is in everything. And so you would want your right hand to have all the good things that your left hand has. They work together. And so everything that in the world is a part of God. And so when God is supporting us, loving us, it's supporting itself. Right? It's supporting itself. So first, it's the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. And then the other quote I'd like from the Bible is, it is done unto you as you believe, right? So in Science of Mind, we believe that the gifts are always given and it's up to us to accept them. And so whatever we believe is true is what will manifest in our lives. We get to put in the order and we get what it is that we're given. And so so if we're thinking that we want to have fear, then that's what we get. If we're afraid to move out of our comfort zone and we want to stay here, well, then what do? We manifest limitations that keep us here. They keep us stuck right where we are. It's done unto us as we believe. When we're in a situation where we want things to change, one of the hardest things to do is to change that, is to think it could be different. It could be different, to create that possibility. When you're in a relationship and you want to change, and you're stuck in this, whatever is going on, and you want it to change, well, you can move, explore what it might be to be different. And when we move out, then the other person has a choice to move out and match, or they can stay back here and you both go your separate ways. But it's a choice, right? It's a choice. But we have to change our own thinking before we can ever move, right? So in the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes says, fear arises from that mental attitude which limits the possibility and the willingness of spirit to give us the good we so greatly desire, right? So it's that fear. It's like the limiter on the on the accelerator on the car. If we want to go slow, we can keep the fear up. And if we want to go fast, we have to let go and trust ourselves to fly along on the freeway, right? Now, how do we deal with that fear? What happens when we look below the surface of what things appear to be? Our fears are like that rough surface of the water. When you look down in the water and you're looking at the ocean, perhaps or the lake, and there's just these big waves, and you can't see anything except what's going on at the surface with the waves. It obscures everything that's underneath. But underneath, at depth, there is calmness and peace. When you go underneath, there's calmness. And so that rough surface obscures our view of the calm beneath the surface. And whatever's going on in our lives, the same thing happens. When you've got craziness going on, we can't see what's going on. Now, our conscious awareness of what we see is like the tip of an iceberg above the surface. And when you look at an iceberg, and I think we have a graphic coming up for that, only 10% of the iceberg is visible above the ocean surface. 90% of that iceberg is below the water. And this is partly because of mostly because of the difference between the specific gravity or the weight of fresh water, the iceberg, and the salt water of the ocean, right? So it's going to stay only 10% above. That's all we're going to see. So our conscious awareness is very similar. We only see the manifest forms that are above the surface unless we dive deep below to see what is really there. And what we see of our physical existence is only a fraction of our true self with a capital S that awaits our perception. All right, there's a whole lot more to us than what we see going on in our lives right now. Right? We have this connection with spirit that's underneath, with this reservoir of all of these divine qualities that we can call on and explore. So how do we get below these surface appearances? How do we find that calm beneath the surface? Well, one way is to spend time in the silence. When we're like in the meditation this morning, when we're meditating, we're in that silence, the monkey mind eventually stops, particularly if you keep your attention drawing it back to that spiritual eye, your third eye. And eventually we get to that silence, or we can practice meditation or practice mindfulness. The thought is, I love these saying, be still and know that I am God, from the Bible. And when you get into that place of when the monkey mind stops, you realize that God truly is everywhere. It's all God. And Sri Aurobindo, he says, a quiet mind does not mean that there will be no thoughts or mental movements at all, but that these will be on the surface, those thoughts. You will feel your true being within, separate from them and observing, but not carried away. What he's talking about is that we shift to the observer point of view, right? Yourself, with the capital S, the part of you that knows that it's part of God, will be observing your ego self and whatever else is going on in the world. But it's understands that that's not all of who we are. It's just a piece of it. It's just that surface expression, right? Another way that we can find out what's going on and connect with that, what's underneath the surface, is to spend time in the practice of awe. Very spiritual practice, communing with nature, perhaps. Now, In the last 24 hours, I've spent quite a bit of time watching the snowflakes just fall quietly to the ground. It's mesmerizing. There's this silence that, things that are noisy and sound doesn't travel. It's just silence. Walking in the snow and there's that crunchy, creaking sound of snow. It's wonderful. Another place for me for awe is going to the top of a mountain and looking out at the grandeur, right? Maybe we've just gotten off a ski lift and we're stopping at the top of the hill right before we go down and just looking out at the view, or the mountain across the way and the trees with snow weighing down the branches. Awe. Or maybe it's summer. Perhaps we've hiked to the top of that mountain and I wonder at the rocks that uplifted and created the mountains in the first place, the power of the earthquakes, right? Or the stream flowing by, merrily making noise as it flows along the rocks. Or the beautiful wildflowers, so many colors. It should be a beautiful spring this year with all of this snow. Right? And then if I linger long enough in awe, then I start to sense how I am connected to this moment, to these trees, to the skies, to the sun, to the clouds, to all that is. I am intimately and completely connected with it all. And there is a deep peace in my soul, a sense of belonging, of being fully a part of all that is. It's deep within our being that we discover our soul, our essence that is unchangeable, our true self. And here, deep within our being, we experience the reality that we are truly one with the universe. We recognize that God is everywhere present. We discover that we are connected with the one and with each other. And when we let go of the fear, we discover the power and the presence of the divine everywhere. Right? And when we're anchored in the divine, with the unchangeable deep within our being, then we learn to feel comfortable with uncertainty at the surface level. We know that this is just what's going on, the changeable, the ephemeral, that's changing it. This is not the truth of who we are. It's just an experience. And so we become comfortable with those day-to-day changes of life, with the unknown. And we're knowing that we're anchored in these infinite possibilities that are waiting to come through, right? When we're no longer steadfastly clinging to the known, there is room for something new, perhaps even greater than we have ever known or dared to imagine, right? We can venture out into the unknown world, and if we don't, though, we will miss out on the wonder and the beauty that awaits. We may never discover possibilities and opportunities that were divinely created to match our own unique set of skills and interests. If we never venture out, we will never discover who we truly are and who we are not. Now, our Center for Spiritual Living, Tahoe-Truckee, this year is working to vision and manifest a world outside of the box. We think everything kind of went on pause perhaps during COVID pandemic. And so now we want to break out. We see and vision ourselves as being this community spiritual hub with lots of things going on 7 days a week, all types of spiritual practices, right? How do we serve this community and our members? It is that vision that's coming up for us, bubbling up to the surface. And as we let go and explore that unknown, we're trying out some new things, and it's kind of fun. It's amazing what comes up. And so we have the courage to lay aside the fear and explore the unknown. In the Science of Mind textbook, again, Ernest Holmes says, fear is a belief in limitation, a denial that the divine is the center and the source of all good. We must do all in our power to overcome it. The truth is that the divine is the center. It is all that is. Now, curiosity comes when we know that we are part of the universe, the whole of life. We belong. We are not separate from other people or the rest of life. We are part of the infinite invisible. It's seeking to express itself if we let go and let God. Right? The process of discovery, however, is not a process of fighting against an enemy. It's more a process of flowing and allowing. And we remember that it's all God and it's all good, and the universe is conspiring for our good. It's the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. There's a great story about Thich Nhat Hanh when he was a boy. And one day he looked into this large water-filled clay jar, and he saw a beautiful leaf of many colors that was resting on the bottom of the jar inside. It was out of reach of his arm. He put his, he's a little kid, and so he puts his arm and he can't reach down to the bottom of the big jar. So he finds a stick, and it's not a really long stick. And so when he puts that stick in, it's still not long enough to reach the bottom to get that leaf. So he just starts swirling the water, stirring it around and trying to get it to dislodge from the bottom. But no matter how he swirled the water, he couldn't make that leaf move and rise to the surface. So giving up, he walked away. Well, when he returned a short while later, the leaf lay on the surface of the water, and he picked it up. You see, he learned that the water had continued to swirl while he was away and brought that leaf to the surface. And this is how our unconscious mind works. When we have a problem to solve, when we're struggling with it, our conscious mind becomes futile at a certain point. And so we must be able to stir the water, connect the spirit, and then step away for a moment. And lo and behold, spirit responds. The infinite responds to our request. What we are seeking is seeking us. Now, one of my spiritual practices is when I have a question, a big one, perhaps, I ask spirit for an answer as I fall asleep. And it's amazing, almost every time, almost without fail, that I wake up with the answer, whether it's 3 a.m. or when I'm first waking up in the morning. There is this feeling of clarity. I go, oh, of course. But I see something that I wasn't able to see before. Right? And that when you have that feeling that you know it's the right answer. It's for me at this moment. So we learn to recognize God in everything. We learn to trust the universe, and we learn to have faith. Faith is so important. Brene Brown writes about it in her book, The Gifts of Imperfection. She says, faith is a place of mystery where we find the courage to believe in what we cannot see and the strength to let go of our fear of uncertainty. There it is, that uncertainty. And so when we have faith, when we're anchored into spirit, that what is below the surface, that is when we can have faith, right? So bringing all of this together, curiosity is our superpower. Curiosity gives us the courage to let go of our fear and leave the comfort of what we have known before. And as we dive deep beneath the surface of appearances, we discover life's beauty and wonder. We can venture into that field of possibilities and discover something greater than we have ever imagined. And it's infinite, right? The infinite possibilities. And in this place of peacefulness, calm, and awe, we realize that we are, and we have always been, part of the one life, the one infinite life that is God. That is the truth of who we are. There are infinite possibilities if we only say yes. Let's take this to prayer. And so as we are still in this moment, as we let our thoughts swirling around settle down, we look at that surface of what's going on in our lives and we say, yes, that is there. That is the experience. But now we choose to dive deep down within our heart of hearts. And there we find that still small flame, of spirit burning, patiently, steadily, waiting for us. And so we relax and know that God is all there is. And this is the truth of who we are. All of those qualities of God are our own qualities, because that is the stuff that we are made of. God is peace. And so we are peace, a deep, abiding peace that is unshakable at the center of our being. God is beauty and wonder. And there is beauty and wonder in our lives in every moment if we just stop and take a look and appreciate it. There is wholeness, created from perfection to live life in all of its wonder and joy, and everything we need is provided. It is the truth of our bodies. There is this wholeness of all that we need. There is good nutrition, good intake. There is good circulation and breath and life, and all the muscles and cells move back to that wholeness that is the model, the blueprint from which they were created. And so the bones come into alignment, and the muscles are strengthened, and the heart beats strong, and there is clear breathing and clear eyes and wonder and strength. And we know that abundance is a part of the nature of the universe. All of the infinite, all the snowflakes that are there, there is abundance. And there is abundance for us. The gift is given, and so we accept it. Our lives are full to overflowing with good things. And so we find that it's not coming from just one place, but we open up 360 degrees, and it flows to us from expected and unexpected ways. And so we accept it with gratitude and share it gladly with the world, where it is from the source. And we know that there is love, the ultimate energy of love that creates bliss and happiness. It allows us to love ourselves as God loves us. God, we are God's beloved sons and daughters, created in the image and likeness of God from itself. And it is so good to be alive. It is so good to be ourselves, created with such loving care. And so we share ourselves with the world. And as we come from this place of wholeness, we attract to ourselves people that match that know that wholeness, like finding like. And so there is a whole person of need, finding whole people around, whether it is in our personal relationships, in our family relationships, in our work, our play. We're exploring new possibilities, the perfect companions to support us along the way. It is all God everywhere present. All of these wonderful infinite possibilities are part of my life and the part of everyone here listening. This is the truth of who we are. Life is so exciting and wonderful, with great things yet to unfold, and that are unfolding right here in this moment. I am so grateful, Father, Mother God, to be here, to know this, to see this truth and to share it. And we accept it as our divine inheritance. Gratitude beyond measure. We share with the world, and we release these words, knowing that it is already done. It is already manifesting right here and right now. And together we say, and so it is.